Hey there, my name's Not Najad. I make videos for people in Canada, moving to Canada, and people who want to learn all about this country. Be sure to subscribe and smash that notification bell, because in today's video, 10 top things you should never do in Canada. Number 1, never say anything racist, sexist, homophobic. Basically, don't insult anybody who's part of a minority, don't insult anybody with a different sexual orientation, don't insult anybody who is different. In fact, don't insult anybody, period. But if you state claims about not liking people of certain origins or certain sexualities, people are generally, most of the population is going to really dislike you. So just keep those opinions to yourself. And I mean, I can't change your opinions for you, but if you bring those and you voice them out loud, people aren't going to like you, no matter how you frame it, and no matter what you do. You're not going to be liked at all. Don't do it at all. Number 2, don't stare at people, okay? So I mentioned this in another video. It's very normal in lots of countries to stare, to just look at people. In the Western world, it can be seen as confrontational. If not confrontational, weird, creepy, or some people just might not like it. I don't mean to come down harsh on you. I mean, if you were to stare at me, I'd just be like, all right, it's probably because I saw me on YouTube. But I mean, like, a lot of people this makes uncomfortable. So if you're coming to Canada and you just want to stare at people because you're interested or fascinated, or you think their hair looks cool, glance, but don't stare. Number 3, don't compare Canadians to Americans. I mean, people are going to get very offended by this one. It's not that big of a deal, but in general, we don't like being compared to Americans. There are a lot of differences politically in terms of climate between Canada and America. Not only that, our country, our geography, our culture, it is quite different. Obviously, with any culture, there are overlaps, but just don't compare Canadians to Americans in general, and definitely don't say that they are the exact same. Number 4, don't neglect personal hygiene. In Canada, personal hygiene, especially North America, is huge. It's up there. And I'm not saying that where you come from is potentially less hygienic. I'm just saying we actually, in Canada, we value really obvious personal hygiene. So I'm talking about putting like deodorant on, brushing your teeth every day, taking regular showers. Like, body odor is a no-go. In certain cultures, having a bit of body odor, it's not a big deal. I mean, like, you're a human being, all right, you're gonna sweat a little bit. Here, if I were to go to a business meeting and I didn't put on deodorant, people would think you're absolutely gross. So you have to actually exercise personal hygiene religiously, and understand that people are hypersensitive to anything that smells anything but absolutely good. Number 5, depending on the province you're in, you should probably hold the door for people. In general, if there's someone behind you, you always hold the door, no matter what province you're in. And depending where you are, like in Halifax, you hold it a little bit longer, even if someone's quite far behind you. I mean, if you're in a more busy city like Toronto, people might not do that. But as a general rule in Canada, if somebody is behind you, hold the door. Do not shut the door in their face. That's number 5. Number 6, don't talk about politics and religion and any deep topic when you first meet somebody. Generally, this might put your relationship on rocky roads. It is not good if you're trying to find a job and you do this. If you do that, you might instantly put the other person against you. I know it's very normal in a lot of other countries. In parts of the Middle East, just talking about that is fine. Parts of the Caribbean, it's okay. In Germany, you can talk whatever you want, like while you're eating, dinner. It's more normal in other parts of the world. Although it might not be 100% normal in the places that I've mentioned, it is more normal. It's more accepted. Here, generally, it's gonna make people's hair stand up on the back of their neck. So don't bring up any important topics like that. If you are close to somebody, that's fine, and if you've already gauged it, but it's going to put your relationship with a new person and your first impression and your opportunities, it's going to put it all at risk if you do that. So generally try to stay away from those topics. Talk about movies or something. I mean, you might not like that, but that is actually a great way to explain what it's like living here. Number 7, don't look at people like they're weird or give them a dirty look if they say hi or smile to you. It's a very normal thing in Canada to walk by people and just smile, or to make eye contact. Like I said, quick eye contact, no staring, but like if someone just says hey and looks at you, that's a very Canadian thing to do. You might be a little bit suspicious, like, what does this guy want from me? Where I'm from, people don't talk to me. It's normal. That's what people do here. And although it seems very surface, it's just like hey, and you don't know the person, generally it's not fake. We're kind of conditioned and brought up to be nice to strangers and to talk to people that way. At the same time, it's a little bit difficult to move deep, and that is my next tip. Number 8, don't ask people extremely deep personal questions. It's okay to ask them where they're from, their backstory, their background, you know, what they like to eat, but don't ask them extremely deep personal questions about what they do in the bedroom. Don't ask them, like, especially when you first meet people, don't ask them how much money they make. That's a big one to stay away from. You know, it's not, you don't just ask those questions when you meet people. It is harder to move beneath the surface with a Canadian. It's very easy to say, hey, how's your day going? And like have a little bit of friendly banter. Super easy to do in Canada. But it's not as easy to ask people personal questions. Like once you get on that basis, you can't just start asking everything in the book. Number 9, don't make a mess. And I don't know, like, this is a general human thing, but if you're living with a roommate, or if you are, you know, getting an apartment with a landlord, you definitely have to put a damage deposit down for the most part. So what you don't want to do is make a mess. I'm talking about, you know, wetting the floor, leaving food around. These things are, you know, not acceptable anywhere in the world, but they're especially frowned upon here. You'll actually devalue yourself as a person and as a responsible person in the eyes of society if you don't actually practice, like I said, personal hygiene. Cleanliness and organization is something that we value. Not the most in the world, but quite highly. Organization, schedule, cleanliness, hygiene, these are all things you gotta be on top of that stuff. You have to make sure that your apartment is, like, my apartment's pretty clean, right? Like, you have to make sure that your car is pretty clean. Having a mess and disorganized chaos will reflect negatively on you in terms of the eyes of most people. Number 10, don't insult Canada. Okay, this goes with anywhere that you go in the world, but specifically, Canadians aren't super nationalistic for the most part, so if you say, well, there's elements of Canada I'm not a big fan of, most people aren't gonna really care. That's fine. There's Canadians that say that. I say that I'm a Canadian, but at the same time, you don't want to just outright come here and start insulting Canada. You're gonna pit people against you. So what you want to do is, if you have, you know, you want to talk about something openly, I definitely recommend it. Something you don't like or you want to improve, talk about that, but don't just outright insult, you know, the country without actually backing up your claims. And instead of insulting, you know, give a fact, give an example. I don't like this because, and these are the reasons why, and this is what I think we should do to improve it. That's perfectly fine. But if you're gonna come to Canada and say, oh, I hate Canada because of this, or I hate Canada because of that. Not everybody, but I mean, you might have legitimate claims to that, but a lot of people are going to be really against you, and more nationalistic people will actually hate you. And you don't want to make enemies. I think if you have, like, moving to Canada, you know, immigrants do face a lot of problems as well. So I think you should voice them, but you should voice them in a way that's diplomatic and fair, and that opens conversation instead of shutting people down. So those are my 10 tips. I hope those helped. If you have any questions about moving to Canada, be sure to let me know. Subscribe and smash that notification bell. My name is Nader, and thank you for watching.